Thanks so much for joining me. I'm so glad you're here. So today will be our reading update for April. So my daughter and I, in case you're new to my channel, welcome back. If you're not, if you're new, welcome. And my daughter is 10 and she'll be going to 5th grade homeschool this coming year. And right now we're pretty much in 4th grade. So this is our reading, all the reading that her and I both did for April. Okay, so these are our reading journals or logs. And so first, let me start with what we're both reading now, and then I'll show you guys. Okay, so we both got these books from the library, and they're both middle grade. I never heard of this book, and she had never heard of this book. We both they piqued our interest when we went. This is The End of the Wild by Nicole Helget. And this book just caught my attention with the cover. Now, I only got a few pages in, and it's, I always start at the beginning of a book to see if I like the writing, and I do like the writing. So basically, it's about 11-year-old Fern doesn't have the easiest life. Her stepfather is out of work, and she's responsible for putting dinner on the table, not to mention keeping her wild younger brothers out of trouble. The woods near their home is her only refuge, where she finds food and plays with her neighbor's dog. But when a fracking company rolls into town, her special grove could be ripped away and no one else seems to care. So it sounds like, fighting for like nature or something like that. And it's definitely realistic fiction, which is what I'm usually drawn to. So I will definitely keep reading it and check it out. And then my daughter picked this. It's Wing and Claw, Forest of Wonders. And it's by Linda Sue Park. And she just started it. It's about a mysterious forest of wonders. When an injured bat crashes into Rafa's life, he invents a cure from a rare crimson vine that he finds deep in the forest. The powers of the vine are stronger than Rafa could have imagined. His remedy saves the animals, but also transforms it into something much more than ordinary bat, with the far-reaching consequences. So it sounds like it has some magic in it, and I don't know if it's considered fantasy, but it's definitely like magic. Seems interesting, middle grade fiction, and this is what she picked. Okay, so first let me start with what I read, and so let me get out my little thing. So this is my log. And so everything I highlighted in green. April. April's green. I finished 4 books in April. Now I started a lot more than 4 books, but I didn't finish. I only finished 4 because I'm picky. Okay, so the first one I read was Willowdean, and I gave it 5 stars. So Willowdean is by Katerine Applegate. I bookmarked a few parts. Basically, it's about a girl named Willowdean. She adores creatures of all kinds, but her favorite are the most unlovable beasts in the land. Strange beasts known as screechers. When the villagers call them pests, even monsters, but Willowdean believes the animals serve as a vital role in the complicated web of nature. So, I love the opening. Katerine Applegate has a really good way with words. It's like, once upon a time when stones were soft and stars were bits of dust, I loved a monster. It seems forever ago, and perhaps it was. Though things weren't really so different. True magic was gentle then and plentiful, but it's always there if you know where to look. The moon, after all, still smiles from time to time, and the world still spins like a dancer through the skies. So right in the beginning, she captured my interest with her writing, and basically these screechers, who are these like animals that, I don't know, it seems like she kind of like, what's interesting about this book is very imaginative. Katerine Applegate came up with these 2 brand new types of creatures. One's a screecher and one's a hummingbird. And the screechers, they say they have like a bad smell. It's like put 100 rotten eggs in your mind. Then add scoops of dead fish and splashes of skunk spray. You'll have a general sense of things. So no one likes these creatures because of the way they smell. But Willowdean sees past the smell, and people often like make fun of her, and they're like, oh, like you stink, like you smell like a screecher or whatever. And she doesn't care. And she has like integrity, and she has character, and I really love that about her character. Like, I really liked her character, and I really like this book. It has some like imaginative like elements to it, but for the most part it's like realistic fiction, and it's all about Willowdene's passion. Kind of reminds me of the book I'm reading, The End of the Wild. It is about her passion to like preserve and like respect nature. And so one other little thing I bookmarked was oh yeah, I just wanted to remind myself to talk about the hummingbirds. So there's these hummingbirds, which is totally like, this is what it looks like. It's so cute. Like, the hummingbird is totally opposite than the screecher. Like, the hummingbird is like cute, adorable, very like remind me of something like Lisa Frank would have drew, like very 90s Lisa Frank. I definitely want to reread it. I like how it involves nature and like kind of fighting for things and standing up for what you believe in, and that's kind of the message. And respecting nature, even if some of it stinks. Like, even if some things aren't the cutest. Yeah, okay. They're valuable. Okay, so that was Willowdene, which I gave 5 stars. And then The One and Only Bob. So I only gave it 3 stars. And, like, when I put these stars here, it's very loose. Because if I finish a book, it means I love it. It just means if I don't give it 5 stars in this little planner, it just means I don't love it so much that I'm going to probably reread it. If I gave it 5 stars, I want to reread it. So, The One and Only Bob, of course, same author. Now, I read The One and Only Ivan, and so that's why I loved it. So The One and Only Bob, I just didn't like as much as The One and Only Ivan. I think it's just very hard to compete when you have such a strong book that you have a sequel to. And so Bob is the dog. If you're familiar with The One and Only Ivan, it's about this poor gorilla and the story of this gorilla. And Bob is the gorilla's friend. So I definitely recommend The One and Only Ivan. It's not that I don't recommend The One and Only Bob. It's just Bob's personality I didn't really relate to as much as Ivan's. Bob is just a little more, I don't know the word I'm looking for. He's like kind of tough on the outside and kind of like street smart and just a little bit like sassy. I don't know. Like, it's like Bob's an independent dog. He knows he could still make it on his own if he had to, even though he has a home with his human friend Julia. Most important, he still gets to visit his best friends at their new home, Ivan the silverback gorilla and Ruby, a young elephant, nearby in a sanctuary. So, in this book, there's a hurricane, and it's kind of like the hurricane is kind of like the main plot of like the book, and also it's the sequel where you get to like follow up with Ivan a little bit and follow up with Ruby. But I would definitely say you have to read the first one before you read this one. Like, you have to read The One and Only Ivan to be familiar with the story. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not unhappy that I read it, but it's not like a book I'll pick up again. But yeah, I liked it enough to finish it because her writing's really good. And I wouldn't really necessarily call this verse. I don't know if she would call it verse, but the way she writes with the spacing, same thing that I don't know if it's technically called verse, but it's just a little bit, it's not like regular prose and like paragraphs. So like I said, I mean, it's just a quick kind of read, a good follow-up, and now they have a third one, which I think is the Ruby story. I'll probably read it because that's just me. But yeah, it just, yeah. Okay, so Jubilee by Patricia Reilly Giff. So she's a new writer I discovered recently. And she kind of reminds me a little bit of Sarah Penny Packer, Kate DiCamillo, Lauren Woke, with the way she writes. So I gave Jubilee 4 stars. It is a book about Judith, who lives with her Aunt Cora and her dog. Her mother left the island. She stopped talking. So Judith has what's called selective mutism. So let's see. I believe that's what. Yeah. So she sees. Yeah. She has. Her counselor's like, you have selective mutism. He said, you can certainly speak, but right now you're afraid to do that. So it definitely has a lot of emotion in it. Her mom left. I want to tell you these parts first. Basically, her aunt tells her, she says, the day my mother left, I was right here in the hall, the front door open, and you stood there. Your mother behind you, her suitcase in her hand. She was on her way across the country to be an actress or a writer. She was so young to be a mother, too young. Sorry, so that was her aunt telling her about when her mother left. So she's raised by her aunt. It's kind of a quick read. It's only 150-ish pages. So basically, it deals with the relationship of a young mother and how Judith is raised by her aunt. I like that. It's actually the first book I read on that topic, even though it's not a unique topic. I think it's more like in YA. But I know DiCamillo has a lot of books where like the parent leaves. But this book deals with it in a very unique way, and I'm not going to spoil it because it's like, you just have to read it if you're interested in that topic. That topic is very close to home to me. So she also is dealing with the fact that she has selective mutism, and so she's like embarrassed in social situations because she doesn't talk, but yet not everyone knows exactly why she doesn't talk, and she doesn't really talk, so she can't explain it because of the trauma. And so, but it's not depressing overall. It has like a very uplifting vibe to it, even though her mom left and like she's dealing with this speech, like the selective mutism. And so it definitely has like a happy ending. I'm just going to say that. I love happy endings. And yeah, so it has a lot of emotion. I like her writing. The last day of freedom, school tomorrow. I sat on the edge of the wharf, legs dangling, holding my pad and pencils. I drew a kid with red hair and green eyes, brows a little thick. I used quick lines for pointy nose and a squirrely nest of corkscrews for the hair. It was turning out to be a girl just like me, Judith Ann. I tapped the pencil. What was missing? Of course, the mouth. So she also draws. I wanted to say that. They have these little drawings. Do they? Yeah. So they have these little drawings that are really cute. I'm guessing the author, Patricia, draws because I don't see an illustrator mentioned. And I like that. I like how these little drawings, and that's the drawings that the main protagonist is doing. So it's very quirky in that way. And it's called Jubilee because that's kind of her nickname. So yeah, really liked it. So my next book, is Leave at Last. I technically finished it like May 1st, but I'm including it in this video because I read like 99% of it in April. And I wanted to talk about it because it's fresh in my mind. Yeah, so I highlighted it pink because I finished it in May, but okay. This is by Sarah Pennypacker, and she's one of my favorite middle grade authors. And I was so excited to find out she wrote a new book called Leave at Last. She wrote Pax, and Pax is one of my favorite books. Now, I'm just going to be honest. Let's see, I gave it 3 stars. I did not enjoy it. When I say it's almost exactly like Matilda, it's literally almost exactly like Matilda. And I looked for author's note. I didn't find one. I looked online for interviews to see if she talked about being influenced or doing an homage or retelling of Matilda, and I didn't find that. So I'm curious as to why she wrote this book so much like Matilda, because Matilda is one of those books that is a classic, and if you haven't read the book, you've seen the movie, most people, and if you haven't read it or seen the movie, it's about a little girl who her parents are awful, and it's like she's super smart, and her parents are rotten, and this book is about Leva, it's exactly the same thing. Her parents are horrible. Her dad is the town treasurer, and her mom is the mayor. And they basically just treat her like a maid. And she doesn't go to school because they don't want her going to school. They just want her at home doing like bills for them, managing like their bills, doing housework. And she discovers the library, and like she educates herself, and she is treated very poorly. And she doesn't, it's just, there was like a few different characters that she's introduced to. I just never felt like any of the characters were really like drawn out. really well. Like, I didn't really feel like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I hate saying bad things about a book, but I bought the book having really high expectations, knowing it was going to be influenced by Matilda. And I don't want to say the end because it's like going to give even more away, but from the beginning to the end, I was like, am I reading Matilda? I was just, the writing was good enough. Like, the writing's good. Okay, she's like a good writer, and that's why I finished it, because if the writing's not good, I just DNF it. I just do not finish. And the writing was good enough to where I was able to finish it. The illustrations were cute. I just didn't connect with, it was just too unbelievable for me. Like, it was just so unbelievable of a plot, because they really don't like tell you when the time that it takes place in. It's supposed to be like this like normal town, but then it's like the way Lee was treated, like she doesn't go to school. No one really questions why she doesn't go to school. She discovers this library, and like the way her dad and her mom run things, it's just too it's like, I know it's a kid's book, and you know how they have some books that are for like middle grade, because I'm an adult reading middle grade. And I think a good middle grade surpasses the age, right? Like, you can read like a book that has like protagonist that's 6 years old, like Charlotte's Web. I don't know how old Fern is, but Charlotte's Web, and then like I can love it as an adult. This book just didn't do it for me as an adult. I'm not saying like my daughter didn't read it yet, and after I told her about it, she actually doesn't have interest in reading it because she read Matilda. I'm kind of worked up about this. I don't know, because I love Sorry Pennypacker, and I'm not saying it's a bad book. I'm just saying it wasn't for me, and it was too strong Matilda vibes. I don't even know how to like describe it other than saying it's almost exactly like Matilda, but yet she didn't change enough for me to, I just don't know. Even if I never heard of Matilda, this wouldn't be like a great, one of my favorite books. The cover is beautiful. I like where she was going with it. It just didn't do it for me. She has a character. It's like a picture of him here. Some of the characters are interesting, but yet they're not. The interactions are just too, it's just too unbelievable. Like, I just couldn't get into it. Like, it just wasn't, there's like too much going on. Like, I really wish she would have just focused on maybe one or the two side characters. So that was all of my middle grade reads. And before I get to my daughters, my last book that, oh, sorry, I don't have this one. So I think I showed it or talked about it on my Instagram. I don't have it because it's from the library, but I plan on buying it. It is The Pictures of Hollis Woods. That is a 5-star. Willowdean and Pictures of Hollis Wood got 5 stars. I loved Pictures of Hollis Woods. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I kind of did. I haven't been doing this section very much in here, but I kind of did it a little bit about Willowdean. But so Pictures of Hollis Woods is by Patricia. Same author. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's how I found this book. It's by the same author, Patricia Reilly Giff. And I want to buy it. I will be buying it soon, and I plan on talking about it in a future video when I get the physical copy. And it deals with Hollis. Her name's Hollis Woods, and she is a foster child. And it's all about her journey. Hollis Woods, I loved it, and I want to get the physical book, and then I plan on doing a better review of it, because I want to make some notes, because you know the first time you read a book, it doesn't really, I want to reread it, and then I want to really like gush about it. But I loved it. It's one of my favorite books I ever read. You know, it deals with like foster, adoption, finding family, and loving, and like new beginnings. When I get the physical copy, I'd like to talk about it in the future so I can make more notes, because I have to return it to the library. But Pictures of Hollis Woods, I promise I will talk about it again to tell you guys more. But then the last book I have today is True Grit. It's by Charles Portis, and I actually never read this book. It's a classic, and Donna Tartt did the afterword. Oh my gosh, I love Donna Tartt. That's why I bought this edition, and it was awesome. Donna Tartt talked about in the afterword her love for this book. So basically this book is about revenge, and the protagonist is Maddie Ross. She's 14. It's an adult book, but the protagonist just happens to be 14. But it's very much adult. So you guys, yeah, like I would not let my daughter read it at this age. So it's about Maddie Ross, who's just 14 when the coward Tom Chancey shoots her father down in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and robs him of his life, his horse, and $150 in cash. Filled with an unwavering urge to avenge her father's blood, Maddie finds, and after some tedious finagling, enlists one-eyed Rooster Cogburn, the meanest available U.S. Marshal. As her partner in pursuit, she finds a U.S. Marshal to help her catch the man who basically killed her father. And there are some parts in it where I was like, ugh, it's not overwhelmingly violent, but there are some parts in it that I cringed, because I don't usually read books. It's not too violent. Like, it's not like it's like filled with violence. It has like a few parts of it that do have violence in it, you know, because I knew what I was getting myself into. I did watch the movie before I read the book, and I really love like the whole thing about true grit. Like, I really love the grit of this girl, which she picks, Maddie, she picks Rooster Cogburn because she says he has grit, but I think she has grit, and I don't know if that's probably what Charles Portis is trying to say. She basically puts herself in situations that an adult would be in as a 14-year-old child. And, you know, it's like you really I really liked her. I didn't she's very tough. And but you appreciate her toughness. She kind of speaks like an adult, and I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars only because it's not a book I would typically probably reread every year. You know, something like Where the Crawdads Sing or Jane Eyre. But that's because I might reread it in 10 years though. But I really like it. I'm not I don't know if you'd call it a Western, but it's not it's basically just a really good book about revenge. And so those are the books I finished. Oh, and then I did a few picture books. Finished a few picture books I'll share at the end. But let me talk about my daughters. So just like I read it, she finally read it. This is the one and only Ivan. And, oh yeah, these were just all the books she read. Kind of so many, it's kind of ugh. A lot of the books she read were from the library, so I don't have them here. So she actually read more that I don't have. But yeah, these are the ones I have. So she really liked it. She was very hesitant to read it because she loves fantasy, but she's glad she read it, and she actually is interested in reading The One and Only Bob. I think this would be more up her alley because it's a little more whimsical. I think as far as I think more kids would like this versus adults, where I think this one's a little bit more universal, but that's just my opinion. And it is written for kids, right? Okay, so like I said, this is Ivan, who's a shopping mall gorilla. It's really sad that he's in this little tiny space in a mall. And then it's just very bittersweet about the struggle of that, and then where he ends up and stuff like that. And then the friends he makes along the way, which is Bob the dog, all of these humans, these people that visit him, and then the elephants. So there's Stella, and then there's Ruby. It's a very sweet story. It's very bittersweet, and I could see why it won a Newbery. So she loved it. And then she also read The Land of Roar by Jenny McLaughlin. And so is this fantasy?
Yes.
So this is fantasy, and I think she said she wants to read the next one.
Yes.
I like the illustrations. When Arthur and Rose Trout were little, they were heroes of Roar, an imaginary land they created together. Roar was one of their favorite things: ninja wizards, mermaids, unicorns, dragons, and fantastic places to explore. But it was also of things that sent shivers down their spine. So it has a lot of fantasy elements in it. And she really likes it. She wants to read the second one. And then, of course, she's finishing up Wings of Fire series. So this is The Poison Jungle, which is book 13. So there's 15 that our library has, and we definitely will be requesting 14. So she really, really, really loves this series. And it's one of her favorites. These are all some of the other ones. By Tui T. Sutherland.
Tui T. Sutherland.
Yeah. So she loves Wings of Fire. Of course, it's about dragons. And really keeps her interest. Every time we reserve one of these, it's like the first thing she reads. Now, these are two nonfiction that were kind of homeschoolish, but she finished them in April. This is Ranger in Time, Long Road to Freedom by Kate Messner. So these are like these are about a dog named Ranger who travels back in time. So it's a chapter book, and it's a fun way to get into some history. If your child likes to read more fictional, but then you can also learn about history in this fictional way, of this fun way with the dog. So this time he traveled back in time to a Maryland plantation during the times of American slavery. And they have a bunch of these, and she's loved all of them. And this is just very classic when it comes to nonfiction for homeschool books. The Who Is series, and this is Who Is Jane Goodall. We wrapped up Blossom and Root, Wonders of the Animal Kingdom with zoology the whole year. So I thought it'd be really nice for her to end the fourth grade year with a nonfiction book about someone who worked with animals. So, of course, Jane Goodall was a really good choice. I don't think I have to introduce her. Pretty much everyone, I'm sure, is familiar with her. She's kind of like, I don't know, like Willie Nelson or Elvis when it comes to, a scientist. But yeah, she enjoyed learning more about her. And yeah, so let me show you guys. I always, not always, but very often I check out picture books from the library. And these are let me just show you quickly. I checked out 3 picture books. The first one is What Would You Do with a Problem? And it's by Kobe Yamada. I love these. We have What Would You Do with an Idea? It's just philosophical. It's like, I realized I had to face it. So I think these are just really cute to read. And they deal with, real life issues. Problems and inspirations, ideas, and philosophical things. And the illustrations are gorgeous. The illustrator is May Beeson. And so, yeah, I definitely check this out. And it's all about what would you do with the problem. And then this was so cute. This just caught my attention. E.T., based on the film written by Melissa Matheson, directed by Steven Spielberg, and then illustrated by Kim Smith. So I love E.T., I literally have to cover my eyes during the part where he gets worked on and probed on by those scientists. Oh, I hate that part in the movie. And it's like depressing. It's also sad. It's like you want E.T. to go home, but then again you don't, because it's like I don't know. It's like you want him to go home, but then like you feel sad. It's like kind of like Ivan. it's like bittersweet, but I don't know. I thought this was really cute. It's like the picture book version of E.T. So like I did watch E.T. when I was a kid. It's kind of like that scene in the Never-Ending Story with the horse. I just it's so hard to watch. It's kind of like the movie It by Stephen King. I watched that movie when I was like 9, and I was scared to walk in front of gutters for like 3 years. So it's like, I don't know, it's like some things you are like, I don't know. I was an 80s kid though, you know. But yeah, I thought this was cute. This is Life, Cynthia Rylant, illustrator Brendan Wenzel. This is a really awesome picture book that I recently discovered. I think I checked it out years ago, but it's really nice. It's like life begins small. Even for the elephants, then it grows. It's kind of inspirational. It's like life is not always easy. There will probably be a stretch of wilderness now and then. So it's like philosophical-ish, but it's very like nature-ish, and the illustrations are awesome, and I love it. There's always a new road to take. I love like books like this. I just do. Remember this: in every corner of the world, there is something to love and something to protect. And if one day it seems nothing beautiful will ever come your way, Trust the rabbit in the field, and so on. I love it. It's probably one of those picture books that I'd buy, but I haven't yet. Okay, you guys, so that's it. That's everything we read in April and currently reading, and we're also doing a book challenge right now. Check out that video if you want to see our plans for the summer. I have 2 parts. I have a first and second part of that video, and I'm going to do a separate video probably in my monthly reading to update you guys on how the reading challenge is going. But we're also reading the reading challenge books right now. So thanks so much. If you're not subscribed, I would love for you to do that. That means so much to me. And thanks so much. It means so much to me for everyone who does subscribe, likes, and watches. Thanks so much. Bye.